Hi, everybody. This is SAAD. Hope you're doing well. I just finished all of my grading, about to submit and post my final grades. And so I thought that I would take a few minutes to grant a shout out to all of my students and any students out there who have had to struggle through this very challenging uh, period where everybody's had to pivot very quickly and try to complete their semesters. And so I think I've done it once in the past where I just covered the general topics that students in my courses have covered for their final projects. And so today I thought I would do the same. But again, I want to contextualize it in the setting of what we've all had to face. Of course, professors have had to pivot greatly and adapt and adjust, but it's important for us to take a moment and recognize how tough it must have been for students to complete their workload. And I can tell you that my projects, while super fun and very instructive, are quite demanding. And so I thought I would take a minute or two to give you a sense of the breadth of topics covered in my courses. This semester I taught two courses, a MSc PhD course in consumer psychology and psychology of decision making, and then an undergraduate course in on understanding our consuming instinct, so how we apply evolutionary psychology to consumer behavior. So I'll first begin with the projects in my MSc and PhD course. So one PhD student looked at the motives that compel people to either be in favor of a movement, in this case, either against or for the realities that were taking place in Syria. And what she wanted to show is that the motives that people on the exactly opposite side of an issue, like the Syrian crisis, might be driven by the exact same set of motives, which was a really clever insight, one that other people have addressed in prior contexts, but she was applying it to the Syrian revolution. And then she also looked at how one particular personality trait, narcissism, might moderate some of the effects that she hypothesized. So that was a very interesting project. Another one in that same class by some MSc students, they looked at, this was a psycholinguistic study where they looked at how much the word frequency of a brand name. So if I create brand names, these are brand names composed of two names, Blue Horizon, right? Well, blue and horizon are frequent words in terms of their lexical use, but other words might be less frequent. And so what they wanted to look at is how the word frequency of the words that are being used in constructing these fictitious brand names, how that would affect measures, cognitive, affective, and behavioral measures in terms of how much they liked the brand or not. So that was a wonderful application of psycholinguistics to consumer behavior. And in my undergraduate course, let me just briefly mention their projects. So in one project they were looking at, it's really a packaging study. They were looking at whether you have a person who is shown with a dog or with a cat or not, whether people's response to them would be different. Would they judge them as more attractive if they are accompanied by a dog or by a cat? In other words, is there a transfer effect from the fact that we usually view pets positively, whether that will alter the way we judge the people that are being, the targets that are being evaluated? So as I said, that's a packaging study, but using a very fun cue, if you'd like, in this case, either the presence or absence of pets. And a second project, they conducted a content analysis, a very thorough and very exhaustive content analysis of influencers on Instagram to see whether evolutionary cues in their posts, for example, if they emit a lot of sexual signals, say being scantily clad, and conspicuous consumption signals. You see a guy, some influencer, coming out of a Bentley. So they had this very elaborate coding scheme where they looked at whether evolutionary relevant cues broken up into sexual signaling in the sense of sexual stimuli or conspicuous consumption, whether that would affect the extent of engagement in these posts, specifically how much people would like the post or post comments in that post. And then finally, the third project in my undergraduate class looked at personality traits of vegans versus non-vegans. In other words, is there a set of personality traits that might help us categorize people as being vegan or not? They looked at 5 very interesting personality traits and tried to compare, as I said, vegan scores versus non-vegans on these 5 personality traits. So as you can see, very, very different projects. One deals with veganism, another one deals with Instagram, another one deals with packaging of people based on whether they have pets with them or not. Another one dealt with psycholinguistics and brand name effects. And then finally, one dealt with the Syrian revolution and the motives that drive both the pro and anti camps. And the idea being that the same set of motives drive people who are ideologically opposed. So this is one of the things that I love most about all of the areas that I study, whether it be consumer behavior, psychology of decision making, and certainly evolutionary psychology. They're so broad in the extent to which they can be applied in studying our innate human nature. So there you have it. Kudos to all of my students for having toughed it out in some very, very trying circumstances, always having a smile on their face, always being so lovely to interact with. I'm truly privileged and blessed to be in the position that I am, doing what I do as a profession. And it's only that much more enriching when I have such lovely students. So have a great summer, everybody, and hope that you enjoyed this little peek into the lives that I create with my students in my classrooms. Take care, everybody. Cheers.